Welcome back, everybody, to Guest Plays. Last time we were taking a look at some of the technical things, and I actually just did want to ask you something just while you're doing this play. So I mentioned Massive at one point, which is a tool that was developed by Weta for making a bunch of characters all at once.
It was used for Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, yeah. I don't know if you can tell, but I love special features.
I watch Blu-ray special features all the time.
I love special features, and Lord of the Rings is a big one. So it's really interesting that how far it's come to even make this work in a game, like to make it so that you can have a million, or thousands of people in the background, and they all have different animations.
Yeah, I mean, this is in a way, this is not the best showcase for the type of technology that Unity is providing in having thousands of characters, because they're really just sort of sitting and clapping. The technology that went into making those thousands of characters show up is the same technology that you could use to make armies of thousands of characters if you were making that type of a game. If you wanted thousands of orcs chasing after
I thought he was going to hit the post. Sorry.
If you wanted thousands of orcs chasing you, it's the same technique. Because you can change their positions, and you can change their animations and that sort of thing. So I'm using it to put people's bums in seats, but if you wanted orcs chasing you with hammers and whatever
but you also kind of did it for like the players just sitting on the side. They all got to have different animations.
Yeah, the players on the sidelines are using the same basic technique. There's just, there's not thousands of them. The real challenge for performance is when it comes to shadow casters. Shadow casting, real-time shadows is really hard on the system. So you want to keep the shadow casters to a minimum.
I know all about that. I play Overwatch sometimes, and I have it on both PS4 and PC. I don't have the best PC for gaming, but I got to turn all the enhancements off to play it on PC. In order to get the game to run. And honestly, some of them not required to like have fun with the game. It doesn't are the shadows going to be perfect? No, but I really don't care. I'm not even looking at the character a lot of the time when I'm playing. I'm trying to figure out what my strategy is going to be like. So.
Well, certainly for the PC edition of this, you have the option of turning off shadows. You can turn off the vertex shader that makes the 3D grass, and you just end up with a flat, texture. But it gives you an option to. It gives you an option to play the game on a lesser machine by turning off some of the performance.
I also love how that guy over there was holding up for the lighting, and he's right in front of one of the cameramen. Get out of the way! He's trying to take a photo. That is something I wanted to ask you about that I forgot about in the podcast as well. For the PC version, will there be options to increase certain things if somebody has better specs?
No, not increase. You can only turn things off.
Okay.
So you start with everything and you turn stuff off.
Right. So if somebody wanted somebody couldn't just turn on better anti-aliasing. They would have to be modded into the game.
It would have to be modded in.
Yeah. I actually was surprised to find there are mods for Canadian football.
There are,
2017. People made mods for it. I'm like, dang.
Yeah. About 10 seconds after it was released, there were mods for that game. And I've asked people to not send me screenshots, not post stuff on my Facebook page, that sort of thing, because it's great that you're enjoying the game, and it's great that you're making your modifications and doing the things that you want to do with it. But I cannot know that stuff.
You can't be aware of it, because if somebody catches wind of it, they'll be coming to you, I guess. So, I mean,
and I'm not paying attention, and I just tried to pass the ball on third down, and so that's what I get for talking.
But like, I was just kind of surprised that for something that put it in perspective on PC, Canadian football is kind of niche. comparatively. So it was kind of interesting to find that there were mods for the previous game. That people cared enough to make mods for it. And that's the kind of thing that keeps these games alive these days. Like, I mean, look at Skyrim.
Oh, that was such a perfect term.
Like look at Skyrim. Like the entire game's like wall physics. You can beat the game in an hour if you put a plate up to a wall, because you'll zap through halfway through the story. So people have gone in and fixed that because, well, it's expensive to try to fix some of these things.
And you know, that is coming from a larger studio.
Yeah.
And game development, you asked the question in a podcast, what has changed the most for game development over the past 10 years? And my answer was the accessibility of commercial game engines. But the other thing that I think has really impacted gaming is the complexity of the games.
Yeah, I mean, and budgets are getting high. Like
budgets are getting out of control.
Grand Theft Auto 5 had a higher budget than any movie ever produced.
Yeah,
it's the most expensive game ever made.
Yeah, the budgets are ridiculous, but also the complexity of the games, and people have to remember that these are commercial computers. I mean, it's a console, but it's still a computer. In the case of Xbox, it's just running a version of Windows, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah,
and they are not Cray supercomputers, and so there's only so much you can make these machines do, and the more complex you're making them, the harder it is to test everything. And the harder it is to catch all of the problems. And you can have 100 people on your testing team, but they are not going to catch everything.
Exactly.
And as soon as you get 10,000 pairs of eyeballs on the game, they're going to find things that weren't caught before. And it's magnified more so for indie developers because we don't even have 40 people. You know, I get people that come in and they test it, and I send it to a few to select players that I trust and give me feedback how I need it. But it's tough for an independent developer to catch every possible issue that can crop up, especially when you're doing a game that is as complicated as a football game.
Exactly, yeah. And one thing, just to note on what you were saying before, is I guess one thing that helps is like these things are closer to PCs than they ever have been.
They're
like,
closer to PCs.
If you were developing on the Sega Saturn, like
that was its own operating system.
Exactly, and on top of that, it had 8 processors.
Yeah.
So even Sega said maybe 1 out of 60 programmers is good at programming a game for the Sega Saturn.
And so the Xbox is a variant of Windows, and the PS4 is a variant of Linux. So they're kind of, it's a variant of Linux. So it's kind of, there really are just desktop computers. You know, the Atari 2600 days of you know, having a custom operating system are kind of gone by the way of the dodo, but at the same time, the games are getting more and more complex, and people are trying to do more and more with them.
I think Nintendo is probably the only one now who has a system that we could say is not as PC-like. It's more
Nintendo.
Yeah, it's more Nintendo exactly. So, one other thing I was thinking of is with how these systems are more like PCs, and I'm like an outsider looking in. I always found it odd that PC versions would turn out sometimes worse than console versions, but I guess it's different architecture still. So
it's not so I don't know. You have to look at the PC that it's running on.
Yeah, because it's different hardware.
It's different hardware. People do weird things to their computers. They install stuff that probably shouldn't be there. Stuff gets installed that they don't even know about is there, and so that impacts things.
Because just when I was thinking of infamously, I think one of the Batman Arkham games had like really, really bad PC launch, and they had to pull it down and put it back up eventually.
Right.
So, like, I always in the back, and first off, I'm like, well, how can this be so difficult if they're just like PCs? And they're like, oh no, wait, there's hardware, different graphics cards. Everybody's got a different processor.
Drivers are a big thing. Yeah.
Like, and it's as much as these are like middle of the road or maybe high end gaming PCs. At the same time, they're all the same.
They're all the same. When I build for the Xbox, I know exactly how it's going to run on the Xbox. When I build for the PC, I have no idea what it's going. Oh, and I just got crushed.
Wow. QB sack.
It just got completely wasted. Took way too long for that. I gotta go with that. Yeah, the other thing is that you can provide recommended specifications for a computer, but that doesn't really mean anything.
Are you concerned that the games are going to run differently on the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X, like this game specifically?
Not really. Okay. There should be very little difference.
Yeah, I mean, specifically speaking for the PS4 Pro, I know its main thing was just to raise things to 4K. The Xbox One X is a little different, but from what I understand, like, the games will run the same if it was developed for the original Xbox, original PS4 on the new system, just maybe with better graphics on some cases. So
the only real difference you'll see is, and I missed the convert. The resolution that you can get on the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro is higher than the base models,
right?
And also because they've got a better GPU, your frame rate should be higher.
Yeah,
I don't really. The frame rate on the base models is 60 frames a second, but you should be able to get even higher frame rates on the pros.
I don't know. I don't like, honestly, like, I'm good with a game. If a game can run at 30, great. If it runs at 60, like, that's preferred. But like, I don't need something crazy. Like, people are like running at 120 frames.
Well, if you're running, you do really should try to get 120 frames if you're doing anything VR.
Yeah.
Because you're rendering the same image twice.
Well, yeah, and that's different too, because that's a whole different thing. But I'm like, there are people who are like, they'll be like, I gotta have my game at 240 frames per second.
Yeah, the human eye cannot discern 240 frames.
Yeah.
A professional athlete. I'm gonna pause this to tell the story. So I read an article that came out a few years ago, and it was an interview with Wayne Gretzky, hockey player Wayne Gretzky, and he was mentioning in the article that once he's completed the season, he's actually, because he has been watching action happen so fast for so long, for such a long period of time, that when he goes to the movies, he has difficulty watching the movie because it's at 24 frames a second.
Yeah.
And his eyes can discern that. He's one of those people that, because he's a professional athlete, professional race car drivers have the same issue, from what I'm told, not being a professional driver. Yeah. But I'm told that they have the same issue, that movies, because they're at 24 or 30 frames a second, it's difficult for them to see that.
Yeah.
So 60 frames for gaming is better. But I don't know, somebody saying they must be running the game at 120 frames for them to enjoy it. Yeah. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Certainly if you're doing VR stuff.
I'm still not used to the 50 and 60 frames TV. Like, I don't have one that really does that, but like, my friend, for example, we're both fans of this new anime, My Hero Academia. I've been watching it at the regular, 24 frames a second. When I watched it on his new TV, it was going at like 50, and I'm like, this is different. I'm not used to that yet. With games, I've just been used to it because the games have been 60 for such a long time. Like, it's not like back in the NES or SNES days anymore where your TV's cut off at 30. But
well, I grew up in an age of CRT TVs and Saturday morning cartoons that are 24 frames a second.
Yeah.
So anything over that, I'm fine with. But certainly for my own development, I try to keep games like Maximum Football at 60 frames.
Yeah.
And that was the target when I started development.
Gotcha.
This is not going to be complete.
Maybe. No. Almost had it.
But that is high risk, high reward play. I mean, it's very, very rarely completed, but when you do get it, you've picked up 45, 50 yards.
Exactly, yeah. Oh. First down.
The other thing that we didn't really talk about with this was the types of passing.
Right.
Like you've got bullet passes and touch passes and lobs, and those are all based on how you tap the buttons.
Oh, okay. So the way you hit the button too matters.
Yes,
eh?
the way you hit the button. If I double tap, I throw a really high, slow lob, which it gets caught this time. But if you press and hold, you'll throw a laser, like a bullet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense now.
So crossing patterns where you're in a lot of traffic, you want to throw that bullet. And so you do that by just pressing and holding the button.
There's so many things you can do in this game.
Except it only works better when you don't get a holding penalty.
Hey, it's better than me walking over the line of scrimmage and getting off.
I only got 8 seconds. I'm just going to run out the half.
Yeah, might as well.
Actually, I need to call an audible.
On audible?
Yeah. Change the play. Oh, that was the wrong thing to do.
Interception.
I called an audible, and then, which on purpose changed the route of my wideout receiver, and then I threw the ball as if he was on his original route. So, yeah. You got to pay attention to what you're doing.
Yeah. It looks like the clock's about to run out here,
Clock's
too.
going to run out, yeah.
All right, well.
So that'll be the end. That'll be halftime.
That'll be halftime? Is there a halftime show?
You're looking at it.
Okay, so you want to go with the rest of the game, or?
No, I got to wrap up.
You got to wrap it up now?
I gotta wrap it
Okay. All right, well, thanks a lot for letting me come in and do the interview with you, as well as sit down and show some of the
Yeah, I played most of the game, but
but you were better off at showing things off, which is good. So just a reminder, everybody, this is coming out on PS4 and Xbox One, July 31st. I had that right,
Yep.
right? July 31st. And how much is it going to be again?
it's going to be $16 US, and so whatever that translates into Canadian, you're looking at about $20. Something.
Yeah. So, I forget this. Is there do you have a pre-order up or anything?
No,
it?
we've not done a pre-order. We're just going to keep it to the day and go. I'm not a fan of pre-orders. I'm not a fan of taking people's money until I can actually give them a product.
Well, the reason I ask is because I know Sony does it now,
Yes.
and when you do a pre-order, it auto downloads the game for you, so you don't have to worry about getting it the day of. So.
Yeah. Well, it's not like it's not like you have to run to the store and worry about them being sold out. It's digital download.
That's true.
And I just, it's just a personal thing until they can actually get their hands on the product. They keep their money until they can buy it.
Gotcha. Okay. And just in case, for those people who haven't seen the podcast yet, where can people follow the game?
Oh, right. So, Canuck Play, you can follow Canuck Play on Facebook at just facebook.com/Canuck Play, YouTube/Canuck Play, and on Twitter, it's at Canuck GS, Golf Sierra, as in Canuck Game Studio.
Yeah.
And so we're a little different on Twitter. But give us a follow, and that'll let you keep up with all the goings on and happenings of Maximum Football.
Awesome. Well, David, thank you very much for showing me the game.
Yeah.
And I'll see you guys next time.